You know, it's kind of mind-blowing.
What's that?
There was a point recently where more people were trading a crypto based on a frog meme than Dogecoin, like the original meme coin.
Wow, really? PEP, you mean?
Yeah, PPE.
Yeah.
Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're diving deep into PP coin. What's driving this frenzy? What are the, possible roads ahead?
And crucially, what are the real risks you need to understand?
Exactly.
So for this deep dive, we've pulled together quite a mix of sources. We've got news reports tracking the market action almost minute by minute, technical analyses trying to figure out what's next, and even some fundamental explainers on what meme coins are actually all about.
Right.
Our goal here is really to give you the essential info on PPE, kind of cut through the hype so you can see what's really going on.
Yeah, hopefully find those aha moments that give you a proper understanding.
Exactly, aiming for clarity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's jump right in. What have we been seeing with PPP's price lately? Because, it feels like it's all over the place.
That's spot on. The price of PEP, like a lot of these meme coins, it moves incredibly fast.
Right.
Around mid-May 2025, we saw reports indicating a pretty significant jump. One source noted a rise to 0.0000171 Han, which was a 3.50% increase at the time.
Okay.
And this actually pushed its market cap, its total value above $1.5 billion.
Oh.
Yeah, putting PPE in the top 50 cryptocurrencies for a bit, which, really shows how quickly sentiment can shift things, often kind of detached from normal financial reasons.
Top 50. That's pretty wild for a coin that, it basically started as an internet joke, right?
It is. And I heard Binance, one of the big crypto exchanges, was getting more involved. What's that about? What does that mean for PPE?
Exactly. So this bullish period, it lined up with Binance adding new ways to trade PPE, specifically a PPP USD pair.
Okay, so more currency exchange options.
Yeah, think of it like that. More pairs usually make it easier for people to buy and sell, which can, sometimes increase demand, maybe boost confidence a bit.
Makes sense.
And Binance also expanded its support for PTE in the Middle East and North Africa, the MENA region. So trading against local currencies there.
Widening the reach.
Right. Plus, PE got included in Binance's BDNSOL Super Stake program.
Staking. That's like locking up your coins to earn rewards, isn't it?
Basically, yeah. You lock up your PPE, potentially earn more PPE, and that can influence the price too, taking some supply off the market temporarily.
Okay, so, that all sounds like pretty good news for PPE holders, at least in the short term.
It does, but then I saw some other numbers that looked quite different. What gives?
Yeah, you're right to notice that. It's confusing. CryptoRank, for instance, in an article from early May 2025, actually reported a dip in PPE's price.
A dip? Okay.
Yeah, down around 0.00000008925 as of May 5th. They even predicted a small bounce back, like a 13.23% increase to 0.000000955 by that same date.
Fine.
It just really goes to show how incredibly quickly the sentiment and so the price can swing in this market.
So massive price swings within just days.
Yeah.
It really, really underscores how volatile these things are, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And just to highlight that even more, another source from early May noted PPE was actually among the coins showing a downward trend over the previous 24 hours.
Okay, so up, down, all around.
Pretty much. And then to add another layer, by mid-May, yet another analysis reported the price hovering around 0.000000013, but this one showed recent gains, like plus 1.12% in 24 hours, nearly 53% up over the past week.
53%.
And over 90% in the last month. We also saw live prices from different sources around the same time showing like 0.000001275 and another giving a figure like $1.35 something E5 USD.
Right, so tiny fractions of a cent, but moving fast.
Exactly. What's really striking when you look at all this data together is just the sheer volatility. Within a really short window, different sources are reporting wildly different prices and trends. It hammers home how fast things change here.
Okay, so a total roller coaster of prices. Got it. What can technical analysis tell us? Looking at the charts and patterns, can that give us any clue where PPE might be headed amid all this chaos?
Well, technical analysis tries to find patterns, right? And several analyses around mid-May offered some, let's say, interesting viewpoints.
Okay.
One suggested positive signs for the medium and long term. It pointed out that PPE had broken through what traders call a descending channel on its price chart.
Okay, descending channel, breakthrough. Good. Bad.
Usually seen as potentially good. For someone not deep into charting, a breakthrough like this can suggest a shift away from a downward trend, maybe towards moving sideways or even climbing.
Right.
They also highlighted something called a double bottom formation.
Double bottom.
Yeah, that's often seen as a bullish signal, a positive sign. It suggested possible price targets of 0.000000125 or even higher. And they identified key price levels, like support around 0.0000930, where the price might stop falling, and resistance around 0.0001680, where it might struggle to go higher.
Okay, so potential floor and ceiling levels to watch. What about the really short term? Any clues there?
Yeah, in the short term, the analysis indicated some positive momentum, mostly because a measure called the Relative Strength Index, or RSI, had gone above 70.
RSI, I've heard of that. Above 70 is strong, right?
Generally, yes. The RSI measures the speed and change of price movements. Going above 70 often signals increasing optimism, maybe potential for more price increases.
But I feel a but coming.
Well, yeah. It also cautioned that a high RSI like that can suggest an overbought condition, meaning the price might have shot up too fast, too quickly, and could be due for a pullback, a correction downwards, especially with, more established cryptos, but it applies here too.
So lots of people are feeling good about it right now, maybe getting a bit carried away, but that feeling might not last.
Precisely. That's the risk. There was also mention of a strong triple bottom formation on the daily chart from earlier in 2024, way down around 0.000000060.
Triple bottom.
Yeah.
Even better than double.
Potentially, yeah. It suggests a strong support level. And there's a key level called the neckline, which was at its all-time high of 0.000002835.
Okay.
The analyst suggested that if the price could break decisively above that all-time high, it could really open the door for significant further gain.
Right. Breaking past its previous peak.
Exactly. We also saw increased interest in PP futures. Those are contracts to buy or sell PEP at a future date. They hit their highest level since January 2025.
Okay, more betting on the future price.
And a positive funding rate in that futures market. A positive funding rate usually indicates that more traders are betting on the price going up. So that supports a generally bullish sentiment.
Okay, so more people are putting their money where their mouth is, betting on PPE going up, even in these future contracts. What about the overall feeling, the vibe of the market? Optimistic? Cautious?
It seemed to be leaning towards optimistic, maybe cautiously optimistic, while some analyses called it neutral, more pointed towards a bullish outlook, at least in the short term. And the fact that trading volumes for PPE had shot up so much, remember, even surpassing Dogecoin at times.
Yeah, that's huge.
That also suggests a lot of interest and activity. Plus, you had Bitcoin and Ethereum doing well around that time, and their rise often tends to lift other altcoins, including meme coins like PEPE, kind of a rising tide lifts all boats effect.
Right, the big guys pull the smaller ones up.
Sometimes, yeah. And adding to all this, a technical overview from mid-May put the overall market feeling as neutral to bullish, specifically 72% bullish. And the fear and greed index was at 70.
70. What does that mean?
70 is firmly in the greed zone. It means people are feeling quite optimistic, maybe even a bit too eager, potentially driving prices up based on emotion rather than fundamentals.
Okay, greed. Got it. So lots of signs pointing upwards, at least for the moment.
Yeah.
But what about actual predictions? Where might the price go? I mean, that's what everyone wants to know, right? Could you actually get rich off this thing?
Well, yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? But future price predictions, they're always highly speculative, especially for something as volatile as a meme coin.
Right, huge caveat.
Massive caveat. And they vary quite a bit depending on who you ask. So looking at May 2025 expectations, one source projected a high of 0.0000001 million, a low of 0.000000060, and average around 0.00000000000, high of 0.0000060. But an average potentially reaching 0.00000000360. And they even looked way out, suggesting a potential high of 0.00000000000000734 by 2030.
Wow. Okay, that would be a life-changing jump from where it is now.
It absolutely would. But then another source offered their predictions for May 2025, minimum 0.00000000000000007 in 2029 and 0.0000000, like in 0.7s in 2023 or 0.0.
0.01, like a whole cent.
That's what the prediction suggested, yeah. 1.5 cents by 2030.
That's astronomical compared to current prices.
It is, and it's absolutely crucial, vital to remember these are just predictions. They're based on current data, algorithms, past performance. the actual future price could be completely different. Way lower, way higher, who knows?
Right.
The uncertainty with assets like this, it just can't be overstated. And the fact that these predictions vary so wildly really underscores that point we made earlier. It's super speculative. Hype can matter more than anything fundamental.
Right. Okay. Take all those future numbers with a huge, huge grain of salt.
Definitely.
Now, let's zoom out for a sec. For anyone listening who's maybe still scratching their head a bit, what exactly is a meme coin? Like, what's the actual deal with them?
That's a great question to ground ourselves. So according to Investopedia, meme coins are basically cryptocurrencies created around internet trends, jokes, humor. And the idea is to build a community around that shared theme to attract users. Think Dogecoin, obviously started as a joke, Shiba Inu, another dog coin, and PEPE, with its frog meme mascot.
The famous frog.
The famous frog. These coins usually run on existing blockchains. Solana and Base were mentioned as popular platforms, and often they don't really have a practical use case beyond just trading them.
So no solving world hunger or revolutionizing finance?
Not usually, no. Sometimes very basic peer-to-peer payments within the community, but mostly just trading. Yet despite that lack of, real-world utility, they can see incredibly high trading volumes daily.
Why? Just hype.
Largely fueled by social media buzz, viral trends online, community excitement. It's very momentum driven.
So it really is more about the story, the meme, the community than any underlying tech or problem-solving power.
Precisely. And the themes can be all over the place. Animals, internet culture. We've even seen political figures now, leading to things called politify coins.
Politify.
Now, here's a really important takeaway from Investopedia, something they stress. Meme coins are generally not suitable for long-term investing.
Right. Not for your retirement fund.
Definitely not. Or for building wealth steadily over time, or even just trying to preserve your capital. They see them as best suited for maybe collectors or traders looking to make small profits from very quick, short-term trades.
High frequency, high risk.
Exactly. And you have to fully understand those high risks. Ultimately, the insight is that PEP, like most meme coins, its value is driven by attention, by hype, not by intrinsic worth. Which kind of makes it a zero-sum game where for someone to win big, others likely have to lose. And the odds are stacked against most participants.
Small gains, potentially huge risks. That sounds about right. How easy is it then for someone just create their own meme coin if they wanted to jump on this bandwagon?
It's surprisingly straightforward these days. You don't need to be some coding genius.
Really?
Yeah, there are websites and platforms now that have really simplified the whole process. You could potentially launch a new meme coin in minutes.
Wow. Okay. What do you need?
Typically, just a crypto wallet and a little bit of existing crypto like Ether or Solana to pay the transaction fees on the blockchain, and maybe small fees for the creation site itself, usually pretty minimal cost.
And then you just pick a name and a picture.
Pretty much. You choose the name, the ticker symbol, the short code like PEPE, the total supply of coins, upload a logo image, write a quick description, and boom.
So the barrier to entry is incredibly low, which probably explains why we see just thousands of these things popping up all the time.
Exactly. It's very easy to flood the market.
Okay, so given that, what are the supposed upsides? Why do people get involved? What are the perceived advantages?
Well, the biggest draw is definitely the potential for very quick, very large percentage gains, even if it's from a small starting amount.
The lottery ticket effect.
Kind of, yeah. The sheer number of coins also offers huge variety. And for some people, just being part of that online community that forms around a coin, the shared jokes, the culture, that's a big part of the appeal.
The community aspect.
Right. Also, the initial cost to buy into many new meme coins is often really low compared to Bitcoin or Ethereum. Pennies or fractions of pennies.
Feels more accessible.
Exactly. And maybe, just maybe, for crypto newcomers, playing around with meme coins can feel like a less intimidating way to learn the basics about wallets, exchanges, blockchain, how trading works.
Okay, so some potential upsides, excitement, community, maybe a bit of learning. But we absolutely have to talk about the downsides, the big issue. What are the major dangers here?
Oh yeah, the list of cons is significant, as Investopedia really emphasizes their long-term prospects are generally very, very poor.
Okay.
They are extremely volatile. Prices can swing wildly, unpredictably, huge gains one day, massive losses the next, so a very high risk of losing your money.
Volatility check.
Then there's the significant chance of scams. Things like Rug pulls.
Rug pulls, explain that.
That's where the creators hype up the coin, get people to invest, pump up the price, and then they just disappear, dumping their own coins and taking all the investors' money with them. The project collapses overnight.
Nasty.
Very nasty. Many meme coins also suffer from low liquidity.
Meaning it's hard to sell.
Yeah, especially if it's not one of the top few. It can be hard to buy or sell large amounts without drastically moving the price against you. You might get stuck holding coins you can't easily sell.
Right. Trapped.
Exactly. They're also incredibly susceptible to hype and just pure speculation. Prices get artificially inflated by social media buzz, then crash hard when the hype inevitably dies down.
The pump and dump, basically.
Often, yeah. And maybe the most fundamental issue, most meme coins just lack any real-world utility.
No.
They don't do anything beyond being traded. No underlying value proposition.
Okay, that's a pretty scary list. What about PPE specifically? Are there any particular risks that reports highlighted for PPE itself?
Yeah, a report from BYDeFi specifically looked at PPE risks. They echoed a lot of those general points. High volatility, the real possibility of big price drops. They also noted that because it's relatively new and less established compared to, say, Bitcoin, the risk of scams and manipulation might be higher.
Makes sense. Less history, less trust, maybe.
Potentially. The report also pointed to possibly limited liquidity and trading volume for PTE compared to the giants, which again makes it harder to trade large sums and maybe more vulnerable to manipulation by big players or whales.
Whales moving the market. Right.
Yeah. And finally, there's just the general regulatory uncertainty hanging over the whole crypto market. How will governments regulate these things? That adds another layer of risk for PP too.
Okay. So the bottom line really seems to be, if you're even thinking about putting money into PPE or any meme coin for that matter, you need to be incredibly careful.
Absolutely.
Only risk money you can genuinely afford to lose, like lose completely, and do a ton of research beforehand.
Couldn't agree more. Thorough research and a crystal clear understanding of the massive risks involved are absolutely essential, non-negotiable, really.
Right. Okay, finally, before we wrap up, were there any interesting little developments that might suggest PPE is trying to be more than just a meme? Any glimmers of mainstream interest or utility?
There was one interesting piece of news, a reported partnership between PP and a leading fintech firm. The goal was supposedly to make it easier to use PP for digital payments.
Oh, actual utility?
Potentially, yeah. It could be a step towards giving PP some real-world use, but it's still very early days. We'd have to see how or if that actually develops and gets adopted.
Okay, something to watch, maybe. Anything else?
Separately, and this wasn't about PP directly, but it was interesting, one article mentioned a plan by a small company to invest a pretty hefty sum, $20 million in Trump tokens.
The Politify coin you mentioned.
Yeah, a meme coin based on Donald Trump.
Oh, okay.
Apparently the idea was maybe to influence trade deals or something. It's a bit unclear.
Wow, that's unusual.
It is, but it suggests there might be some emerging, although probably still very niche institutional type interest in certain kinds of meme coins, even if it's not PPE itself yet, for very specific, maybe political reasons.
Okay, so a tiny hint of potential real-world use for PPE and some really specific, maybe oddball institutional plays happening in the wider meme coin space. Definitely fascinating.
It's a weird corner of the market.
It really is. So as we wrap up this deep dive into PP coin, what are the absolute key takeaways for you, for our listener?
I think the crucial points to really remember are, 1, PP has seen huge rapid price swings lately. It is incredibly volatile.
Okay.
2, technical analysis. It offers some short-term positive signals, yeah, but it also flags potential dangers like being overbought. Predictions are really unreliable because of this.
Got it. Don't trust the charts blindly.
Definitely not. 3, future price forecasts are all over the map, highly speculative. They just highlight the massive uncertainty.
Grain of salt needed?
A whole shaker full. And 4, most importantly, meme coins like PPE are inherently high risk, very high risk. While there's potential for quick gains driven by hype and community buzz, it's vital, absolutely vital, to approach them with extreme caution. Do your homework. Understand that the price is largely driven by sentiment, not real underlying value.
Right. Understanding those dynamics, the crazy volatility, the power of internet hype, the usual lack of real utility that's so crucial if you're navigating crypto, especially considering something like a meme coin. Knowing all this really empowers you, the listener, to make more informed choices, recognizing just how speculative these assets truly are.
Exactly. It's all about being aware of the game you're potentially playing. It's not traditional investing.
Not at all. So here's a final thought for you to chew on. Given how incredibly easy it is now to just whip up a new meme coin and how much their value seems to hinge on these fleeting viral moments, what do you think the long-term future of this whole asset class even looks like?
That's a huge question.
It is, and how can individual investors possibly hope to figure out which, if any, of these thousands of projects have any kind of real staying power versus just being the flavor of the week?
Yeah, discerning signal from noise is incredibly difficult there.
It really makes you wonder. Anyway, thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.
My pleasure. Always interesting.